in the humid, sun-drenched suburbs of South Florida, where the swimming pools are crystal blue and the manicured lawns stretch for miles. A silent invasion has been unfolding right before our eyes. For years, residents have been used to the usual local wildlife, the occasional alligator in a canal, iguanas sunning themselves on backyard fences, and the constant hum of cicadas. But recently, a series of startling videos captured by doorbell cameras, high-definition drones, and amateur naturalists has revealed something far more calculated and complex than anyone imagined. It's not just about a single species moving into a new neighborhood. We are witnessing a complete restructuring of the Florida ecosystem, the biological takeover that scientists are calling one of the most rapid and unpredictable shifts in modern environmental history. What started as whispers of strange sightings has now been confirmed by footage that shows a threat nobody saw coming, a highly intelligent, incredibly resilient, and apex-level predator system that is rewriting the rules of survival in the Sunshine State. When we talk about Florida's environmental challenges, people usually think of pythons in the Everglades or the slow rising of sea levels. But this new footage points to something much closer to home. We are seeing predators that shouldn't be here, exhibiting behaviors that defy traditional biology. Specifically, the rise of the invasive Argentine black and white tegu, and a massive surge in hybridized predator species. These aren't just hungry animals, they are ecological engineers. They are moving into residential areas with a level of comfort that is frankly chilling. Recent clips show these lizards, which can grow up to 4 feet long, not just passing through yards but actively dismantling local bird populations, digging underneath the foundations of homes, and outsmarting the traps set by professional trappers. The most alarming part isn't just their size, it's their cold-blooded efficiency. Scientists have recently discovered that the tegu has the ability to partially regulate its body temperature, a trait almost unheard of in the lizard world. This means they don't have to wait for the sun to come up to be active. While Florida's native species are still sluggish in the early morning dew, and as the footage from South Florida reveals, they are expanding their territory at a rate that has left local authorities scrambling to keep up. But the mystery deepens when we look at the water. South Florida is defined by its massive network of canals, a labyrinth of waterways that connects the wild Everglades directly to the heart of cities like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. This is the superhighway for the invasion. New underwater footage taken by researchers using remote-operated vehicles has confirmed that these canals are now home to a biological soup of species that should be thousands of miles apart. We are seeing Nile crocodiles, which are significantly more aggressive than the Native American alligator, popping up in suburban ponds. We are seeing bull sharks navigating miles inland into freshwater territories they were never supposed to dominate. This isn't just nature finding a way. This is a massive atmospheric and environmental shift that has turned Florida into a giant laboratory for invasive success. The footage revealed by several recent expeditions shows that these species aren't just surviving. They are collaborating in strange, accidental ways. When a python clears out a marsh of its native mammals, it creates a void. That void is immediately filled by even more resilient invaders like the tegu or the Gambian pouched rat. It's a cascading effect, where each new threat paves the way for the next. The threat nobody saw coming is the sheer speed of this transition. Ecosystems usually take thousands of years to change. It's happening in a single decade. Scientists are particularly concerned about the genetic side of this story. Recent footage and subsequent captures have revealed that some of these species are starting to hybridize. When two different species of invasive constrictors meet in the wild, they are producing offspring with hybrid vigor. These new snakes are larger, more aggressive, and more tolerant of cold temperatures than their parent species. This isn't just an animal in the woods anymore. It's a biological upgrade that makes the threat much harder to predict. If these hybrids move north, the entire southeast United States could be facing an ecological crisis that currently has no solution. Let's talk about the drone footage that recently went viral among the scientific community. It shows a massive stretch of the Everglades where the tree islands, which are the biological heart of the wetlands, are being completely stripped of their native inhabitants. No sightings of rabbits, no foxes, no deer. Instead, the heat signature cameras show a landscape dominated by giant serpents and monitors. This silent forest effect is a terrifying look into a future where the native beauty of Florida is replaced by a monoculture of invasive giants. And the footage from the suburbs shows that these giants are now looking for their next meal in our backyards. Why did we not see this coming? Part of the reason is that these animals are incredibly good at hiding. A 20-foot python can disappear in 6 inches of grass. A tegu can bury itself in a hole and stay dormant for months. But with the explosion of high-quality cameras in every pocket and on every porch, the invisible has become visible. We are seeing tegus walking through doggy doors. We are seeing pythons wrapped around patio furniture. The frequency of these interactions is skyrocketing. This isn't just about the animals being scary. It's about the fact that they are disrupting the food chain so thoroughly that they are beginning to impact human infrastructure. A major recent discovery involves the underground network. Researchers have found that tegus are using the burrows of the native gopher tortoise. These tortoises are a protected species, and their burrows are vital for dozens of other animals. The tegu doesn't just share the burrow, it displaces the tortoise and consumes its eggs. By taking over these burrows, the invaders gain a perfect, climate-controlled bunker that protects them from any cold snaps and from human detection. Footage from inside these burrows, captured by specialized snake cameras, shows a subterranean world that has been completely conquered by invasive species. The threat to human health is another angle that the footage has brought to light. These invasive reptiles are carriers for various parasites and diseases that native North American wildlife have no immunity against. As they move into residential areas and interact with pets, the risk of disease transmission increases. We are seeing a rise in rare pathogens that are normally only found in the deep tropics of South America or Southeast Asia, now appearing in suburban Florida's soil and water. It's a biological exchange that we are simply not prepared for. Another video that has caused quite a stir shows the sheer intelligence of these invaders. A group of black and white tegus was filmed working in a loose association to raid a chicken coop. One lizard would distract the birds while the others focused on the eggs. This level of social learning and problem-solving is usually reserved for mammals. To see it in reptiles is a game changer. It means that traditional trapping methods, which rely on simple bait and instinct, are becoming less effective. These animals are learning how to avoid us. The coastal threat is equally baffling. New footage from the Florida Keys and the southern tip of the peninsula shows lionfish moving into even shallower waters than before. These fish have venomous spines and no natural predators in the Atlantic. They are vacuuming up the juvenile fish that are essential for the health of the coral reefs. But recently, cameras have caught them moving into the mangroves, the literal nurseries of the ocean. If the lionfish decimate the mangrove populations, the entire commercial fishing industry in Florida could face a collapse. It's an economic threat disguised as a beautiful flowing fish. What makes South Florida the ground zero for this? It's a combination of the tropical climate, the massive pet trade, and a geography that is riddled with water and cover. But there's a new factor: the urban-wildland interface. As we build more homes closer to the wetlands, we aren't just encroaching on nature, we are providing a buffet for invasive species. Our trash, our pets, and our gardens are providing the high-calorie fuel these invaders need to grow to record-shattering sizes. Recent footage shows that many of these animals are actually larger and healthier in the suburbs than they are in their native habitats. Scientists are now using AI to analyze the thousands of hours of footage being uploaded by citizens. They are trying to find patterns. Where are the animals moving? What time of day are they most active? How are they interacting with one another? The AI has revealed something startling. Many of these invasive species are starting to synchronize their activity. They are creating a shadow ecosystem that operates in the gaps of human activity. While we are at work or asleep, the invasion is in high gear. The footage also highlights the struggle of the native species. We see videos of American alligators, usually the kings of the swamp, getting into brutal confrontations with pythons. While the alligator often wins the battle, the war is being lost through sheer numbers. A single female python can lay up to 100 eggs at a time. The native species can't keep up with that kind of reproductive pressure. The visual evidence of these clashes of the titans is a viral sensation, but for biologists, it's a tragic documentation of a dying heritage. One of the most recent and bizarre pieces of footage involves the jumping of species across barriers. We are seeing invasive lizards on the roofs of 3-story apartment complexes. We are seeing snakes in the engine blocks of cars that have traveled hundreds of miles. The invaders are using us to move. We are the unwitting transporters of the very threat we are trying to fight. This hitchhiker phenomenon is how the threat is moving out of South Florida and into the rest of the state. Public awareness is at an all-time high, but the solution remains elusive. The footage has led to the creation of bounty programs, where citizens are paid to remove invasive species. This has led to a surge in python hunting videos, which provide even more data for scientists. By looking at what these hunters find in the stomachs of the captured snakes, researchers have documented a total disappearance of marsh rabbits and a 90% decline in raccoons and opossums in certain areas. The footage of these empty stomachs is a silent testimony to the hunger of the invasion. Let's talk about the micro-invasion. While the giant snakes and lizards get the headlines, footage from high-powered microscopes and specialized insect cameras has revealed a threat that is even harder to see: invasive ants and termites. The Asian subterranean termite is now documented as literally eating the wooden hearts of South Florida cities. Footage shows these termites creating massive super colonies that can span several city blocks. They are more aggressive and more destructive than any native species. They are hollowing out trees and homes from the inside out, often going unnoticed until a structure literally fails. This is a threat to the very stability of our built environment. The footage from South Florida isn't just a collection of cool animal clips. It is a massive, decentralized dataset that is telling a story of a planet in flux. It shows us that when you remove the natural barriers of geography and climate, the result is a chaotic free-for-all where the most aggressive and adaptable species win. It's a preview of what could happen globally as climates continue to shift and global trade continues to bridge the gaps between continents. One especially haunting video shows a family's backyard at night. Through the green glow of an infrared camera, you see the grass undulating. At first, it looks like the wind. You realize it's dozens of iguanas and tegus moving in a slow, coordinated crawl. It looks like something out of a science fiction movie, but it is the reality of 2024. These animals have integrated themselves into the human landscape so thoroughly that they are no longer wild in the traditional sense. They are synanthropic, meaning they have adapted to live alongside humans, often to our detriment. The scientific community is calling for a major shift in how we manage our borders and our environments. The threat nobody saw coming was actually visible the whole time. But we lacked the perspective to see it as a single, unified problem. Each invasive species was treated as an isolated incident, but taken together, as the footage clearly shows, they represent a singular force of change. We are no longer just fighting a snake or a lizard. We are fighting the Floridian replacement, a new biological reality. In response, some of the most advanced technology on the planet is being deployed. We are seeing the use of genetic gene drives and sterilized insect techniques being considered. There are even discussions about using eDNA or environmental DNA. By taking a gallon of water from a canal, scientists can now detect every single species that has swam through it in the last 48 hours. This genetic snapshot is being compared to the video footage to create a comprehensive map of the invasion. The results are often more terrifying than the videos themselves, showing that the number of invaders is often 10 times higher than what we see on camera. The footage of the Python Challenge, an annual event where hundreds of people head into the swamps to find snakes, has become a cultural phenomenon. But the real threat isn't the snake that gets caught, it's the thousands that don't. The footage shows that even with hundreds of eyes in the brush, most of these animals remain invisible. Their camouflage is the product of millions of years of evolution in their native lands. And it works just as well in the Florida cypress as it does in the Burmese jungle. Another recent discovery highlighted by a drone survey is the shifting of the wetlands. Invasive plants like the Melaleuca tree and the Old World climbing fern are literally strangling the native vegetation. Footage from above shows a sea of green that looks healthy to the untrained eye, but it's actually a green desert. Underneath that canopy of invasive ferns, nothing else can grow. No light reaches the floor, and no native animals can find food. The footage reveals a landscape that is being suffocated in slow motion. The economic impact of this is staggering. Florida spends hundreds of millions of dollars every year on invasive species management. From spraying herbicides to hiring trappers, the costs are ballooning. And that doesn't count the damage to property values or the loss of tourism revenue, if the Florida experience becomes more about dodging giant lizards than enjoying the beach. The footage has become a political tool, urging for more funding and stricter laws on the importation of exotic animals. One of the most interesting citizen science breakthroughs came from a group of teenagers who used GoPro cameras to document fish wars in their local retention ponds. They captured footage of Mayan cichlids and Oscar fish, both popular aquarium species, completely driving out the native largemouth bass. This is a massive issue for Florida's billion-dollar recreational fishing industry. If the fighting fish of the suburbs aren't the ones people want to catch, the industry could face a slow decline. The footage shows these invasive fish are more territorial and more capable of surviving in low-oxygen water, which is increasingly common during Florida's hot summers. As we look closer at the threat nobody saw coming, we have to admit that we were looking for the wrong thing. We were looking for a sudden disaster, a hurricane or a flood. But the real threat arrived one pet release at a time, one escaped plant at a time, and one canal at a time. It evolved in the shadows of our skyscrapers and in the mud of our ditches. The footage is the evidence of our own oversight. It shows us that a silent invasion can be just as transformative as a violent one. Scientists are now looking at the possibility of a biological equilibrium. Is there a point where the invaders will stop expanding, or will they simply keep moving until they hit a climate barrier they can't cross? The scary part is that the climate barrier is moving as winters get milder across the South. The Florida threat is slowly becoming the Georgia threat and the Alabama threat. Footage of pythons surviving in colder than expected conditions is a warning to the rest of the continent. The resilience of these animals is truly alarming. Footage from after a major hurricane showed that while native bird populations were devastated, the invasive reptiles barely noticed. They stayed underground or underwater, waiting for the storm to pass. When the sun came out, they were the first ones back on the hunt. This suggests that as extreme weather events become more common, invasive species will have an even greater advantage. They are built for chaos. What can be done? The footage has sparked a massive wave of innovation in trap design and monitoring. We are seeing the development of smart traps that use computer vision to identify a species before the door closes. If it's a native turtle, the door stays open. If it's a tegu, it's captured. This kind of precision is the only way to fight a war in such a sensitive environment. But the real solution might be more fundamental. The footage shows us that we need to change our relationship with nature. We can't treat the environment like a static backdrop for our lives. It is a dynamic living system that is constantly responding to our actions. The shadow ecosystem of South Florida is our own creation. Every time someone buys an exotic pet they aren't prepared for, or plants an invasive tree because it looks pretty, they are contributing to the story of the footage. One final piece of footage that has left researchers speechless shows a group of manatees in a warm water spring. Surrounding them in the same warm water were hundreds of invasive Plecos armored catfish from South America. These catfish have been filmed attaching themselves to the manatees, scraping at their skin to eat the algae that grows there. This harassment causes the manatees to lose vital energy and move away from the warm water they need to survive the winter. It's a subtle, almost gentle-looking interaction, but it's a threat to a beloved American icon. This is the definition of the unseen threat. It's not always a bite or a strike. Sometimes it's just a persistent, overwhelming pressure. The story of South Florida is a warning to the world. It shows how quickly the balance can tip. But it also shows the power of being able to see. Without the footage, we would still be in the dark. We would be wondering why the rabbits are gone and why the trees are dying. Now we know. We have the visual proof of a new ecological order. The question is whether we have the will to act on that knowledge. As the sun sets over the Florida horizon, the cameras continue to roll. They capture the glowing eyes of predators in the grass and the silver flash of invasive fish in the water. The data is pouring in, and it is telling us that the time for observation is over. We are in a new era of environmental management, where we have to be as adaptable and as resilient as the species we are fighting. The threat is real. It's here and it's growing. It's visible. And in the world of science, visibility is the first step toward a solution. The footage revealed the threat, and now it's up to us to decide the ending of the story. Will we let the Sunshine State become a monument to invasive success, or will we find a way to restore the balance? And so is the world. Every minute a new video is uploaded. A snake in a swimming pool. A lizard on a golf course. A strange new fish in a lake. Each one is a data point. Each one is a call to action. The threat nobody saw coming is now the threat nobody can ignore. We have to look at the footage, study the patterns, and respect the incredible adaptability of these new neighbors. But we also have to fight for the native beauty that makes Florida unique. The South Florida footage has changed the way we look at our backyards forever. It's no longer just a place for a barbecue. It's a front line. And as we learn more from these digital eyes, we are discovering that nature is far more active than we ever gave it credit for. The invasion is a masterclass in survival. And if we want to protect our environment, we have to become master students. Stay curious, keep your cameras ready, and never stop looking at what's really moving in the grass. The next big discovery is probably just a doorbell notification away. As the scientific community continues to grapple with these revelations, the message to the public is clear. Stay alert. The environment is changing, and the species we share our world with are changing with it. The shadow ecosystem is no longer a shadow. It's in the light. And while the footage can be frightening, it's also a powerful tool for education and change. Let's use it to build a more resilient future, for Florida and for the entire planet. The story of the South Florida footage is just beginning. Every day the invaders find new ways to adapt. And every day, we find new ways to track them. It's a high-stakes game of checkmate that will determine the future of one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Don't look away. The threat is real, but so is our ability to innovate, to learn, and to protect the natural world. The threat nobody saw coming is finally in our sights. And that is where the real work begins. Florida's battle is a global battle. What we learn here will be used in Australia, in Europe, and across the Americas. We are the guardians of our own ecosystems, and the footage is our intelligence report. Let's make sure we use it wisely. Watch the water, watch the sky, and most importantly, watch the ground beneath your feet. The secrets of the earth are being revealed one frame at a time, and the story they are telling is one we all need to hear. In the heart of the tropics, under the neon lights of Miami and the quiet canopy of the Glades, the fight for the soul of the environment continues. The footage has pulled back the curtain, and the threat is standing right there. It's a challenge to our science, our policy, and our passion for the natural world. We have given ourselves a chance, and in the complex, beautiful and dangerous world of South Florida, a chance is all we need. Stay tuned as we continue to follow the latest breakthroughs in invasive species research and environmental science. The world is changing fast, and we are dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter, the footage that alarms, and the discoveries that provide hope. The threat nobody saw coming is a big one, but the human spirit of discovery is bigger.